following the high-profile trial against Karen Reed. She's accused of murdering her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her SUV after a night out of drinking at a local bar in Canton, Massachusetts. Her defense team, on the other hand, says that Reed is being framed in a massive police cover-up. This is because O'Keefe was also a police officer, and his body was found out in the snow where Boston PD officer Brian Albert lives. We'll see just how this unravels, or, whether or not Karen Reed is guilty, or are there other key players involved here? That's something that we're going to think about. Now, one thing to note is that the defendant is represented by defense attorneys David Yannetti and Alan Jackson. Jackson has taken on high-profile cases, so it's something to think about while we continue watching this case and how they might carry the trial. Let's get you back into that courtroom now and listen to Brian Higgins. He's on the stand. This is the direct examination.
Defendant said, no, just stop being so anti-couples. Most couples don't even like each other. I said, name a few. Defendant said, name a few? I don't know. All of them. Question mark. They all want to hang out with single people. And then I said,
Thank you. Sir, if I could direct your attention to page 26. And sir, if I could ask you to read from that page.
in blue is going to be myself again. Foul ball. Defendant responded, you stink. I said, you suck and you're double trouble. Defendant responded, you're hot. I responded, are you serious or messing with me? Defendant responded, no, I'm serious. I responded, failing is mutual. Is that bad? How long have you thought that? Defendant responded, are you okay driving? You don't want to stay here. I responded back, I'm fine. I have an office at the PD. You didn't answer the question. And then it starts to say, defendant said, rather you stay here.
And is that, to your memory, when is that text exchange taking place? In reference to the night that you went over to the O'Keefe's house?
I believe it was that night.
Now, at Mr. O'Keefe's house on that particular evening, do you recall how you came into the house?
I believe it might have been the front door.
And if you know about how long were you at Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
I was probably one of the last people to leave, I think.
And what, if anything, happened as you were exiting from Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
So as I was exiting the house, it was either through the breezeway or the garage. And as we were walking out, the defendant planted a kiss on me.
Now, before you went out that way, where was Mr. O'Keefe? Did you say goodbye to him or anything like that?
I think I said goodbye to him. He might have been in the bathroom. I'm not 100% positive where he was.
And when you went to leave, which exit from the house were you headed to initially?
Well, as I said, I don't remember exactly if it was the breezeway or the garage. I was starting to walk through, but whichever way I started to exit, the defendant told me to go a different way.
And which way did the defendant tell you to go?
Well, her way. I honestly can't tell you which door that was. If it was either the breezeway or the garage.
And as you were going out, again, I'm sorry, what happened?
The defendant kissed me.
And how did she kiss you?
Not like a friend.
Lip to lip, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Like a romantic kiss?
That's the way I interpreted it.
And were you still inside the house at the time that this occurred, or were you outside the house, if you know?
Not sure if we had just got to the outside or not. It might have. I'm not sure if it was close proximity to leaving.
And what was your reaction to that?
I was taken back.
Was that something that you were expecting?
No.
And about how long was it between when the defendant kissed you and when you left?
Well, almost immediately.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention back to the exhibit before you on page number 27.
Yes.
Again, sir, if you could read from that page and who's speaking.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, I think you're messing with me. The defendant said, why do you think that? I responded, because this is so out of left field. Where did these feelings come from? Defendant responded, I just think you're like me. I said, meaning, question mark. Defendant said, do you have your own kids? I said, I have no kids. How am I like you, question mark, hello? And defendant responded, aren't we alike? I responded, I think so. So why did you get my number and reach out to me? And I think the defendant put a question mark on that bubble, I believe. Or I might have, I don't know.
Now, that conversation as far as you asking her about why she reached out to you, how often was that question asked by you through the course of these text communications?
Well, the extent of the actual communication via text between the defendant and I was between January 12th and January 29th when John passed. On the 28th and 29th, the 28th, I sent a text, as we spoke about before when we were at the waterfall. That text didn't respond. There was a text sent by the defendant to me the next day. So in that time period between the 12th and the 29th, there was 9 days that the defendant and I exchanged text messages. With that being said, those text messages, I don't believe, were every day, consecutive days. There was 9 days in between the 12th and the 29th.
And so as far as that questioning, as far as posing to her, why did she reach out to you? Was that something that you asked once or more than once?
Yeah, I asked it more than once, and during the pendency of this communication, I was basically trying to suss out what the intentions were of the defendant. Was the defendant interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? Was she trying to weaponize me against John and put me in the middle? There was numerous things that were going on. And that's what I was trying to vet out or suss out, or whatever you want to call it. But I was having a hard time accepting what was happening.
And sir, if I could direct you to the next page, page 28. And again, sir, if you could read from that page.
So I'm in the blue bubbles. Shoot straight with me. Defendant responded, I told you, I just think we're alike, right? Couple question marks. I responded, yes, agree. Now what? Defendant responded, I don't know. I said, shouldn't you know? Defendant responded, do you like me? I said, yes, from jump. Defendant said, when was jump? I said, first time I saw you. Defendant responded, when was that? I said, Hillside for your shore.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 29. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
So again, I'm in the blue bubbles. Hillside for sure. When were you interested? Defendant responded, I don't know, you're just my type. I responded, you think you can handle me? I thought you were happy, question mark. Defendant responded, how do you know if I'm happy? I said, I just assumed. Defendant responded, are you hard to handle? I may have put a question mark. Then I said, what do you like about me? Defendant responded, I just feel like you're from my neighborhood. I said, yes, yeah, ditto. Defendant responded, and I think you're hot.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, page 30. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
I'm in the blue bubbles again. You really think that? I have always thought that about you. Defendant responded, what? I responded that you're hot, smart, witty, but I didn't think you were interested. Defendant responded, witty? I responded, yeah, meaning quick with a response. Tell me why you got my number and reached out to me. Defendant responded, just thought we were the same / from the same neighborhood. I responded, are you afraid to say what's on your mind? What's in your mind? And then I said, on. Defendant responded, no, didn't I? No, didn't I? Question mark.
And sir, if I could turn your attention, to the next page, 31, and ask you to read from that.
I'm glad I'm in the blue bubble again. I'm glad I stopped by. I should have come earlier. Do you really live in Mansfield? Defendant responded, yeah, I was basically begging you. I responded, you don't have to beg me. I meant to say beg. Defendant responded, huh? I said, I will give you what you want. How are you texting right now? And I said, leaving me hanging. Defendant responded, no. I typed kids and then kinda. Defendant responded, how am I texting? And I began to say, is everyone asleep?
As far as the communication from the defendant indicating, yeah, I was basically begging you, what did you take that to mean?
That she wanted me to come over?
And if I could turn your attention to the next page, 32. If I could ask you to read from that page as well.
So it starts off with the defendant saying, I just wide awake on my phone. Yes, they are. I said, I should have stayed, LOL. So now what? Question mark. Defendant said, yes, you should have. I responded, that would have been distracting. So now what? So no, what? And then I said, now. Defendant said, now what? Question mark. I responded, balls in your court. Defendant said, what do you want? I responded, loaded question. What do you want? Question mark. Defendant responded, I asked you, exclamation point. I in turn said, nope, you initiated this.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 33. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, spit it out. I'm in the blue bubbles.
All right, we need to break this down. And I have with me trial attorney Katherine Lizardo and criminal defense attorney Natalie Whittingham-Burrell. Now, I'm going to start with you, Katherine. We've been listening, and this is the first time I've heard this, to texts between the defendant, Karen Reed, and now this other individual who's on the stand, Brian Higgins. He's a friend, actually, of Brian Albert's, where they found O'Keefe's body. This is the first time that I've seen this sort of exchange between the two of them where they are doing more than just flirting. They are actually talking about, getting together and their relationships and whether or not she's happy and they've been attracted to each other. How do you think that's going to affect the prosecution's case, actually? This is the prosecution's witness.
Well, this is good for the prosecution. That's why he's the witness for them, because we haven't heard anything about Karen Reed and flirting with other men, like you mentioned. And so the jury are likely perked up right now, trying to understand what's going on, because it seems like it came out of the left field as to this witness's testimony. Now we know that 9 days before John O'Keefe passed away, or murdered, that they were texting, and that adds to the possibility, the state of mind of Karen Reed at the night of his death. And this witness too is critical because he was there at the bar, and maybe we'll have a glimpse of what was happening between Karen Reed and John O'Keefe that night leading up to his death.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. All right, Natalie, one thing I wanted to ask you about is you may have heard him say on the stand that he thought Karen Reed was trying to weaponize him against, I guess, the relationship. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, he really was suspect about why she was contacting him. It's almost like she was trying to use him, or at least that's what he thought.
So I think that this goes towards the prosecution putting Karen Reed out as a manipulative person and a motive for her to want to kill John O'Keefe. Up until this point in time, there hasn't been any motive. No one has said that they've seen them engage in a big argument that would lead someone to commit a murder. And so if they can make it seem as though she's manipulative in some way, and she was initiating this relationship maybe in order to anger John O'Keefe or to get out of her relationship with John O'Keefe, that maybe there was trouble in paradise and she would have had a motive to kill him.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think we all know you don't have to have a motive, but it does help as far as explaining to the jury what that story is all about and whether or not she actually intended to kill him. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more for you on the case against Karen Reed. Stay with us.